Hello and welcome to All About Wood in Medieval Dynasty. As you recruit people to live and work in your village, you'll need to make sure they have wood to use in their homes. So we're going to talk about wood resources, production and demands. The total amount of wood demanded by villagers for their homes can be found in the Management tab, which you can open by pressing N or Tab and navigating across to Management. And here on the right you will see the wood available, which for my village is 400, and the daily demand in brackets, which for my village is currently 70.7. If you're very familiar with how the game works, then there's an easy calculation to work out how much firewood you need to produce. Before I give you that though, there are a number of things that can impact wood usage that you may have overlooked or not know about, and I'll talk about them shortly. But first let's get to this calculation. So the quick formula, take the demand and divide it by 5 and then divide the result of that by 4, or the very quick version, take the demand and divide it by 20 for firewood. For a quick guide to setting up the woodshed and other production buildings, I recommend Goldie's tiny tutorial How to Set Up Production, which I've linked below. She has other videos there, how-tos that are very worth a watch. And if that's all you needed, then I hope this helped and I wish you a prosperous village. But if you want to find out more about how the wood works in the game and where those figures come from, the rest of this video will hopefully explain that to you. I've got 4 sections: the wood types and the wood values, things that impact village wood demand, how to set up the wood production, and some other things to keep in mind. There are 4 types of wood resources, and each has a wood value. Sticks have a wood value of 1, logs have a wood value of 10, planks and firewood each have a wood value of 5, but 1 log produces 2 planks or 4 firewood. Firewood is the most effective for wood value. The total value shown in the Management tab is the sum of the wood values of all 4 wood types that you have in your resource storage. So let's go take a look at what I have in wood in my resource storage. So here you can see I have 20 firewood which has a wood value of 5, you can see that down at the bottom here, 10 logs which have a wood value of 10, 20 planks which have a wood value of 5, and 100 sticks which have a wood value of 1. And you can see here the total of those wood values, 100 for each, given the quantities, which shows you that only 100 of the wood that I have available is actually firewood, which is what I want my villagers to use. Villagers fill their wood needs by taking wood items from the resource storage in the following order: firewood, then sticks, then logs, then planks. So if you don't have firewood, they will consume sticks, then logs, and finally planks. You can control this, however, again via the management screen. On the left hand side, the last tab is the people's demand control, where you control what food they have access to, what water they have access to, and what wood items. This is the one we're going to talk about. And here again you will see the priority: first firewood, then sticks, then logs, then planks. If you click the next column here where the green ticks are at the moment, I can change that so that they don't have access to anything except the firewood. And you will also see over on the right here that the wood available has now dropped to the 100 that is represented by the firewood that is in the resource storage. Changing these settings only restricts the use to their homes. The production buildings that need sticks, logs or planks will still have access to these if you change this setting. So let's take a look at a sample firewood calculation. If we have a daily demand of 100 wood and firewood is 5 wood, then 100 divided by 5 equals 20 firewood needed daily. One production of firewood turns 1 log into 4 firewood, so 20 divided by 4 equals 5 units of production, which means that 5 logs will be used. The next bit here 20 comes from multiplying 5 by 4. So the quicker version is take the daily demand, divide it by 20, and that's what you need to set your production to if you're making firewood. Obviously you'll have to do a different calculation if you want to use sticks or logs or planks instead, which some people do. So let's move on to things that impact village wood demand. The first thing is seasons, and I'm currently in the autumn season. During spring and autumn, the villagers use the same amount of wood. Let's call that the baseline. In the autumn they use, in the spring, let me get my head right here. In the summer they use 50% less, and in the winter they use 50% more. It is possible to set up production so that you have production level across the year that will cover the underuse in summer, the overuse in winter. And let's take a look at that. So this works if you play the same number of days in a season consistently. If you play longer than 3 days and skip days, this won't work effectively, that I know of. Let's take our wood need of 100 again, which gives us 5 units of production to produce 20 pieces of firewood daily. And you would use all of those during spring and autumn. In the summer, you would still produce the 20 units of firewood, but you would only use 10 of them, or your villagers would only use 10 of them. So you would have 10 pieces of firewood left over per day. When it comes to winter, the use goes up 50%, which means they are then using 30 pieces of firewood a day, which is the 20 you're producing a day plus the 10 per day that's excess from the summer. I generally set up my or check my firewood production in the spring and just double check it again in the autumn, and that way I'm sure that the coverage is fairly consistent across the season and will meet the needs. Other things that can affect production or wood demand are the number of villagers you have. The more villagers you recruit, then obviously your firewood demand goes up. As the villagers marry and have children, the growing up children also have a wood demand. Not as babies, but as toddlers and olders, their wood demands increase the older they get. The more people are in a home, the higher the wood demand in that house. The type of home also influences how much wood demand there is in the house. The size of the house, the bigger the house, the more efficient it is wood-wise. We put that down to being more securely built or more, better built. The construction materials also play a role. So you can see here I have 3 small simple houses, one of wattle with a straw roof, one of wood with a wooden roof, and one of stone with a tile roof. And I can show you here, again in the management, under buildings, houses. This is the wattle house with a wood demand of 30 per day. This is the wooden house with a wood demand of 23.57 a day, and the stone house, lowest of all, 17.14. There are also a couple of skills that can influence wood demand. The first is in production, and that's the handyman skill, which gives you the ability to upgrade house walls for better insulation. Upgrading of wattle or wooden walls is done with daub, and stone walls is done with limestone. The other skill that can be used to lower wood demands is under diplomacy, and that is castellan, which will lower the food and wood demand of the villagers. The handyman skill is accessed using the hammer. If you right click on your hammer, you'll bring up the wheel, and one of the options there is to upgrade. When you click that, the buildings light up with anything that could be upgraded. I have some daub on me, and I'll just show you quickly. If I do this wall, I should have enough just to do this wall. And this should bring down the village wood need just slightly. Obviously I've only done one side of the house. And here you can see my wood demand daily has dropped by 0.6 from 70.7 to 70.1. That would be more significant if I'd done the whole house, obviously. But that's just to demonstrate. Okay, let's talk about setting up the wood production. If you recruit villagers before you have a woodshed, then it is possible to craft firewood by using the Q menu. If you press Q on your keyboard, you will see here what you can do from your hand. Handcrafting includes an option for firewood. You will need logs with you though to be able to do that. And obviously you collect logs by chopping down trees. And you can see I've chopped quite a few down around here. Just a quick word about this. Chopping down a tree leaves a stump. If you leave the stump in the ground, the tree will regrow in 2 years' time. You can take out the stump using a shovel, which you may need to do to place some buildings. If you take out the stump, the tree will not regrow, ever. Okay, sticks. There are 2 types of sticks in the ground, in the game. There are these types that you can collect. These respawn. However, they do not, repeat, do not grow into trees. There are also loose sticks on the ground, like this one. So there are 2 types of sticks. They respawn, but the ones that look like baby trees do not grow into big trees. And stumps, if you take them out, the tree is gone for good. Okay, once you've unlocked a woodshed, all wood items can be extracted by a worker assigned as a lumberjack in the woodshed. A lumberjack can collect sticks without needing a tool, but needs an axe for logs, planks or firewood. Again, setting up production is covered in Goldie's built video, and all buildings work in a similar way. There are 2 levels of woodshed. In the first one you can have 1 lumberjack, and in the second one you can have 2 lumberjacks. To set up production, you open the N management window again and go to buildings on the left hand side, which is the second tab, and to extraction. And you look at woodshed, and here you can see 2 warnings here. The first one means that I haven't got somebody working there. The second one there means that I haven't set up any production. Press F to open the details. And this opens the first tab, which is general information. It tells you that you need an axe, and there it would give the current durability of the axe that's being used. As I've yet to set up production, there's none in use, and I need to assign a worker. So I click F to manage the assignment, and I want to put this lady here in because the skill that is needed is extraction, and she is the highest in extraction. So I click F to assign her, and F to assign her for extraction. So she is now our lumberjack. I then click the second tab on the right hand side, which sets up the goods production. Work intensity goes from 0 to 100%. They work from 8 AM to 6 PM, and you can set the intensity to 100%. Having it lower affects nothing other than how much they produce. That can be a technique if you're overproducing, just to lower the work intensity, or put a lower skilled worker in. How much they produce is based on their skill level. Right, now again, just quickly, I have a wood demand of 70.1. A quick calculation tells me that I need to have production of around 3.5 units. So we click that until we get there. You're never going to get to an exact match. Well, occasionally you will, but it's rare. So it's best to go slightly over. And then if I look on the third tab here, it shows me what the local production for this building is. And she will be producing 14.4 bits of firewood and using 3.6 logs. So I need to make sure she's also producing that amount of logs at least. There's very little value in producing excess firewood. It's only used in the houses. So unless you're planning to sell it, there's no point producing more than you are going to use. She's also going to need to produce more logs for other buildings, probably sticks and maybe planks. The woodshed is responsible for producing all of the wood needs of the village, including other production buildings, which include, let me just tab out to that, the smithy and the workshop. The sewing hut does have some items that use sticks, but unless you're setting up a regular production for those items, it's minimal. The smithy is probably the one that you're most likely to be using stuff from the woodshed from. The wood workshop is probably going to be light initially until you get a lot of villagers and need stuff. So let's just quickly set up people here. So we'll assign a blacksmith, and he's going to need hammers. I've got a couple in the resource storage just to get them underway. So he's going to need to produce hammers so that he can work. He's also going to need to produce stone axes so she can work. Now, how much does he need to produce? If we go back to the woodshed and look at the production, here we can see log. The cost is 2 durability of an axe. Firewood uses a log and 1 durability from an axe. Sticks, no tools, as I said. And planks, 1 durability of an axe and a log. So 2 times 4, that's 8. Firewood, another 4, 12. And whatever else we add on to that. So that's 12 durability possibly used. And durability depends on the weapon in use. Initially you're going to be on stone axes, which have a durability of 100. So that's at least 1/10 of an axe she's going to be using. It's kind of quick calculation. So we need at least 1/10 of an axe being produced just for what she's doing at the moment. So he's producing enough there. So there's a little bit of figuring out of how much of things do you need to produce. You can do the calculations, or you can guesstimate it. You can set the production up, see how many are being produced, see whether you're building up excess stock of, say, axes or hammers, lower the production if you're getting too many, or if they're running out and showing they've got no tools, up the production a bit. It depends how you like to play, whether you like to do the calculating or whether you want to just play it by ear and see how things work out. Some people mass produce stuff and keep it in storage and just keep an eye on how much is in stock. It's very much down to how you play. I'm just trying to give you the tool so you know where the figures come from, so you can decide how you want to do it. These are the 2 buildings most likely to use sticks and logs. A hammer, 10 sticks, 2 stones. Sorry, a stone axe needs the hammer, 2 stones, 10 sticks. So immediately we need sticks from the extraction. So we need to set her up to be producing some sticks. And if we set up the workshop, put a craftsman in there, and he might want to make some buckets for water. and some bowls for food, and some plates possibly for some food. And here you can see he needs just over 2 planks and 2 logs. So the extraction shed needs to have more log production to cover the local production, and also needs to produce some planks. That's the basic principles of it. Each building gives you the local production, what they're using and what they are producing, and you can use those figures to work out what other buildings need to be producing. A final note about production is that everything that is produced in a production building or an extraction building goes into the resource storage, or if it's food related, the food storage. They also take everything they need from the resource storage. You can store stuff in their chests, like I put some stuff in initially so that they wouldn't be interfering with anything I'd set up for my example in there, in the resource storage. So they will use what's in their local resource storage first, be it tools or equipment, as long as it's relevant to their business or their building. However, these chests are intended as overflow in the case that the resource storage becomes full. If the resource storage is full, they will store stuff in these chests. But as I said, they will use what's in these chests first if it's relevant for their production. Everything goes in there and everything comes out of the resource storage. Okay, so just some other things to keep in mind. As you change productions in the buildings, if they use wood, they may impact the levels that you need to be producing from the woodshed. So if you change production in one building, you may need to look at production in another building. The other thing is the skill level of the lumberjacks. Extraction is one of the slower skills to level up. However, when they do level up, their production will increase, and you could end up with them producing too much all of a sudden, and you may want to adjust it. When you get to the lumberjacks, the second woodshed, there can be 2 lumberjacks, and if you put a lower level lumberjack in with a higher level lumberjack, then the lower level lumberjack will increase their skill faster, because the production is based on the sum of their skills. So they produce more, the skill level goes up faster. The other thing to keep in mind is your gameplay style. This game is very flexible on how you play. You can build slow and steady, you can build fast. Building fast and recruiting fast will increase your wood demand quickly. You can only have 1 lumberjack initially, so you're either going to have to do some cutting and collecting yourself, or put in a second lumberjack maybe in another building. They may not be able to keep up demand initially. And you may decide that some players have the lumberjacks produce all the logs and then make the firework themselves. There are many ways to play this game. Hopefully, I've given you sufficient information that you can make informed choices about how you want to handle the wood in your game. So that's it from me. May your axe be sharp and your villagers never be lacking in wood. And thank you for watching, and goodbye.